What's up guys, MikeCoco back here, bringing you guys a first impressions on Dread Queen Karinna. And I know this is really late, but I've actually been having a hard time deciding whether or not to recommend Dread Queen Karinna. Because her skill is actually, like, despite the fact that her skill seems very good just on on paper, in use, I thought that she would actually be really bad because previously, if you have an elegant Karinna already, Dread Queen Karinna is basically a very buffed up version of EK. That is to say that she gets a guaranteed crit, she gets attack up, so that's like combining Anak and Lacita's skill. And so obviously on paper, and just by glancing over, it seems like that's a very good combination because Lacita is one of the hardest hitters. And Anak is also not the hardest hitter, but she hits very hard. So combining these two traits and knowing the fact that crits deal a lot of damage, you would obviously expect EK to deal a lot of damage. Or not EK, but Dread Queen Karinna to deal a lot of damage. The one thing that was holding me back before was the fact that her skill, because her skill is like separated in two parts, the thing I was worried about is that her damage wouldn't be like, even though she would get buffed, the damage wouldn't increase that much. And the reason why is here that I'll show you in the preview section. So I just want you guys to take a quick look at the skill. So right now it's a 190 damage to the enemies in the column and then 240 extra damage. That's your dot. Now this delayed dot cannot crit, so you cannot take advantage of the guaranteed crit. Now it probably does it does get factored in by the attack increase by 50% for that one turn. So the delayed dot will probably factor in that, but it will not crit. So you can never crit on that. And we know that the crits deal the most damage. So at first glance, the 240 means that the majority of her skill damage is going to come from the delayed dot rather than the initial attack. And if you can't crit the most important part of the damage, which is the higher damage of the delayed dot, then you're critting the lower part of the damage, which is just the initial hit. And I was worried that the initial hit would actually be quite low, because you see that the 190 is quite significantly lower than 240, which is around, like, in my calculation, it's like just a quick math, I think it's like 1/5 lower. So yeah, I don't need to demonstrate the skill, you guys already know, but that's the thing that was a little bit worrying at first. And then if you take a look at someone else's skill like Raguel, you'll see that the total skill damage is at 190. So then I realized actually the 340 is just additional damage. Her damage is always going to remain, like, every single hero so far will deal that 190 initial, more or less. But the extra 300 or 240, if I remember correctly, is just additional damage. It's literally just extra free damage. So even though you cannot crit on the delayed dot, which is the most heavy portion of the damage, the fact that her initial damage can crit and is the same as a lot of the other heroes just makes her a very powerful hero. Just doing a quick comparison to EK, because their skills are basically the same. It's just that Dread Queen has the attack up and the crit. You can see that at, well, this is level 90 rank S. She does 300,000 damage on her initial hit, and then the delayed dot does another 300,000. So this 300,000 won't change. It might increase based on the attack buff, but I'm not exactly sure how that works. So that may or may not change as she gets buffed up. But the initial hit is already 300,000, which is significant. It's actually quite a lot. So what I was worrying about before, that the initial hit would crit but it wouldn't be a lot, that is completely negated. Her damage is absolutely amazing, just like the current EK. So Dread Queen Karinna is probably, well, just by my analysis, will probably be the strongest hitter in low right now. I don't think anyone else can hit higher than her consistently. Of course, Lacita might be able to consistently hit higher because her attack scales to 75, and I'm not sure if Dread Queen Karinna can scale her attack buff to 75. It seems to be capped at a 50, but a 50 is quite good, especially because she's mythic, which means that her stats are already higher than non-mythic heroes. So consistently, I think that Dread Queen Karinna is going to be your strongest hero if you do choose to get her. But because she's pretty much focused on a very damage based aspect, I wouldn't recommend her as a support hero. If you need those support heroes, I would still rank Remy and Taihu as your #1 picks. Number 2 would probably be a toss up between Raphael and Raguel, considering Raguel's new costume. But without considering the costume, I would definitely pick Raguel as the third hero, because she gets that 30% attack buff for your entire row, which is quite significant. And then I would probably, without assuming costumes, I would go with Dread Queen and then Raguel and then Sarah. Now with costumes, it's a close battle between Rag and Dread Queen. Rag has a little bit more skill utility, but Dread Queen just has so much more damage because of the consistent criticals and the attack up. If any of you guys have Lacita and you pair her with Exposed Weakness, you'll know that she does an extreme amount of damage on her crits. So that's like when Dread Queen has those two aspects of a guaranteed crit and attack up, it's very, very powerful. So that's pretty much it for my first impressions on Dread Queen Karinna. Would I get her if I don't have any mythics? No, because I would still recommend Taihu and Remy, because those two are still the most useful as of now. Dread Queen is just very, very good for her damage. So if you just want to boost damage, then she's pretty much the way to go. But I would still recommend getting a hero with more utility. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this first impressions, guys. Peace.